Mariners, Blue Jays, Game 7, everything is on the line. Who's going to the World Series? And who's going home? Welcome to MLB Game Night, Postseason Edition.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
This is Locked On MLB Game Night, every game, every night, postseason edition. Of course, you've got your host here with you. I'm John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels, and JD Hafron of Locked On Cardinals, who just realized tonight that Max Scherzer has two different colored eyes. JD,
can I put the picture? John, can I put the picture up?
Of course you can, my friend.
This guy.
He's
I never realized it. I don't know what rock I've been under, but look at my man. He is wild in that clubhouse for Toronto right now.
A certified husky dog, right? Exactly. So coming up on today's show, Springer Dinger sends the Blue Jays to the World Series. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is your ALCS MVP. And now the stage is set for a Blue Jays versus Dodgers showdown. Before we get to all that, I want to thank our friends at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. JD, we're taking it to Toronto. Game 7 of the ALCS between the Blue Jays and the Mariners has been quite a wild ride so far. The Seattle Mariners took the first two games of this series in Toronto, took a 2-0 lead into Game 3. They took it home with them. Then the Blue Jays took the next two in Seattle, while the Mariners snagged the finale of their homestand, if you will, to take a 3-2 series lead back to Toronto. On Sunday, the Jays, in a do-or-die game, turned to their rookie starter, Trey Savage, hoping to bounce back from his Game 2 stinker against the Mariners. Turned in a great performance, 5 2/3, getting 3 inning-ending double plays, keeping the momentum out of the Mariners' pocket. Addison Barger, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., huge games for the Blue Jays offensively. The Jays walked away with a 6-2 win, tied the ALCS at 3 games apiece. So it came down to Game 7 of the ALCS in Toronto, with the winning club moving on to the World Series to face the mighty Los Angeles Dodgers. We got Shane Bieber with the ball for the hometown team, while George Kirby looked to have a bounce-back game after he didn't have a great one against Toronto in this series. So who's moving on and who's going home? Let's hear from the boys at Locked On Blue Jays on the results of Game 7 in Toronto.
The Toronto Blue Jays heading to the World Series. Oh my God, what a game. We have this man to thank.
And a swing and a fly ball to left field. Back goes Rosarena. She's gone!
I mean, I have no words. My reaction was Ernie Clement's reaction at the end of that video. This is how I felt since that game ended. Oh my God. The Dodgers are next. It's gonna be a hard one, but Blue Jays fans, enjoy this one, because what a ride it's been.
That was awesome. Shout out to the guys at Locked On Blue Jays for that. Hopefully we don't get demonetized for the footage or the music, JD. We'll see what happens there.
They're going to the World Series. I guess they can do whatever they want. So
they can do, yeah, exactly.
More power to you, boys. Well done.
Yeah, it was a terrific win for the Toronto Blue Jays, 4-3, and just some massive heroics in this one. The scoring did start early as Julio Rodriguez hit a leadoff double against Shane Bieber. Naylor drove him in for an early 1-0 lead. There was a weird moment. Jorge Polanco hit into a potential double play, ended up being a double play. And then Naylor, the ball just hit him, right? And bounced right off of him.
Jumped. He was like, I agree with you.
He turned away. So it was later ruled runner's interference. Blue Jays answered back with a run of their own in the bottom of the first. Dalton Varsho drove in George Springer from second. We'll get to him in a minute. Julio Rodriguez led off the third with a solo home run to make it 2-1. So this one's back and forth, right? And then Cal Raleigh, a solo home run off Louis Varland after he came in relief for Shane Bieber, 3-1. And it, could have stayed that way until later on. But before we get to that, the Mariners, if they were going to make something happen in this game, it began and ended with Julio and Cal. The truth is at this point, they were 9-4 this season, including the postseason, when Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh each homer in the game. And then kind of some history for Cal Raleigh. His homer ties the record for most home runs by a catcher in a single postseason with Sandy Alomar Jr. in 1997, each with 5 homers. But JD, I guess you got to make it 9-5, I should say, when they homer together, because they took the L in this one. Shane Bieber getting the start here, 3 2/3, 7 hits. Not a lot of fooling people. He did have pretty good whiff rate on the slider, but just a lot of contact made by the Mariners. The 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, and 1 home run. George Kirby, 4 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 3 Ks. Everything you could have wanted if you're a Mariners fan out of George Kirby, especially after the last time he went out against Toronto. And then your favorite, JD, Brian Woo, who had been ace during the regular season, suffered a pec injury on September 19th, knocked him out of action until Game 5 of this very series. Came on in relief of Kirby, pitched well until the 7th inning, where he allowed 2 to reach, and then Edward Bizardo came in relief and allows a 3-run go-ahead home run to George Springer. Now, Sarah Langs, obviously, she does great work for MLB.com. She said that's the first go-ahead home run while trailing by multiple runs in the 7th inning or later in Game 7 history. Only other team in any winner-take-all game was the 2024 National League Wild Card Series Game 3 with Pete Alonso doing it. Chris Bassett comes in, holds the lead, and then Jeff Hoffman gets the save. Now, JD, I loved this because you text me. Pitching to Springer with Lucas on deck and a base open. The dude only has 23 postseason home runs. So talk to me about that decision, JD. 1 out, Lucas on deck. You got Vladdy Jr. after him. Tell me your thoughts.
All right, let's go game show style on this one, John. Door number 1. I got a guy coming to the plate here with 78 career postseason games.
Wow. That's
22 postseason home runs at the time. Has won a World Series MVP. Already has 2 home runs in this series. That's door number 1. On deck and behind door number 2, I have a guy who just played his first full season in the major leagues at age 31. He has 0 career home runs in the postseason. Heck, the guy behind door number 1 has more postseason home runs than the other guy has career home runs in the major leagues.
Right.
Lefty-righty matchups be damned. I am pitching extra careful to George Springer in this particular play spot with a base open. Maybe you can get him to go fish at some stuff, but I'm not really taking my chances with him and throwing things over the plate. Like I am keeping it as close to the outside portion of the plate where he can't turn on it, and he's not going to be able to hit it all that hard. And I'm going to take my chances. If I end up walking Springer, I get him on there, I'm taking my chances with Lucas. That's just what I'm doing, who I believe singled in the next at bat, by the way, mind you. But
he did. I'm
going to make him beat me and not the dude who is now tied for 3rd all time in postseason home runs. It just didn't seem like it made a whole lot of sense. I don't know if Bizardo just missed his spot and they were trying to pitch carefully. I don't know. We don't know that. But I just think that I would rather try my hand with Mr. Lucas on deck. And, and I know Vladdy's coming up next. I get that.
Sure.
After him.
Sure.
But let me just get the guy first, okay? Let me go after this first guy. Maybe he hits into a double play. Maybe he hits into a line drive double play. Maybe he hits a sac fly and another base opens, and you can walk Guerrero and put it. There are different ways that this could go down. Obviously, it can go south, but who would you rather face? I thought it was shocking. There's also the idea of was it smart to pull Woo at that point? We don't know how he's feeling coming off that pec injury, so that. I know I saw a lot of fans that were like, dude, why are they pulling this guy? He's been our best pitcher all year. But I don't know how he's feeling. Only Dan Wilson does, who's the manager. Maybe he had a little more insight. It's like, if he gets to close to 30 pitches, get him out of there. I couldn't answer that, but it was just weird to me. I was like, there's no way they're going to pitch to Springer. Oh, there it goes. And I was like, wow. Wow. Because it's not like Toronto's got somebody on the bench that is like this, very scary pinch hitter or anything.
Yeah.
Like it was George Springer or Lucas, and they chose Springer and he burned him.
Yeah. Yeah. And going to Bizzardo in relief of Brian Wu, because Wu went 2 innings in game 5, right? And looked great.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I understand maybe you don't want to push him too hard. And maybe they did push him too hard considering you let the first 2 on. But to go to Bizzardo in that moment and not Andres Munoz, who was right there on 3 days rest. And get this, this came from Jolly Olive at John Boy. Sorry, I'm getting all my names mixed up there. Too many J's. Springer was 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts in the regular season against Andres Munoz. And so it just made so much sense to, 1, maybe not face Springer, but 2, go to Munoz. I know it's not the 9th inning, but good grief, man. Oh, wow.
There are moments, and we've seen this in the playoffs, and this went back to like when Miller used to come in for the Guardians with Cleveland back in the day. They'd go, okay, what's the most important part of this game? Are we
Correct.
This could be the game right here in the 7th,
right,
and not wait to the 9th to go to whoever your top pitcher in the bullpen is. Now, Bizzardo has been very good this year. It's not like this is some scrub that they brought in there, but again, you want your top guy facing the top of that lineup probably again, because we don't know if they're going to get back to it ever. So if you're going to take your chances, you're going to put your number 1 out there. It would make a lot of sense. There was a lot of different things they could have done here, and it seems like they chose, like in Indiana, they chose poorly in Indiana Jones in the last crusade.
And that's really what it comes down to, right? It's the minute-to-minute decisions in these games that mean all or nothing. So the Blue Jays move on. They're going to face the Dodgers in the World Series. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But next, we've got Ty Dane Gonzalez of Locked On Mariners, who speaks on the emotional end to Seattle season. And then, who got crowned ALCS MVP? That's all coming up on MLB Game Night.
Today's show is being brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has got an offer that you do not want to miss, because right now, the new customers, you can bet just $5. That's it, $5 measly, and you can get $300 in bonus bets if you win. So you pick a bet. It doesn't have to be a difficult bet. You can make something simple. This week, I was telling everybody, Patriots, pick the Patriots over Tennessee. That is a lock, dude. There's no way that they're not going to cover the spread of that one, and they destroyed them. So you could have picked that particular bet, put down the $5, and if it hit, you'd unlock the $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I like how FanDuel gives you so many different ways to play. There's parlays. You can do player props. If you're a fantasy football guy, player props is the way to go. You'll love it. You can follow the live lines during games, whether you're a casual fan or you're just diving into the stats. FanDuel will make your game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Today's show also brought to you by Monarch. Most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. We've got 401ks to worry about, savings, investments. It's a lot. And it's easy to lose track. And that is basically leaving money on the table, which is something you do not want to do. Keep all your money. Put it in your pockets and in your accounts. That's why you need Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together and does it in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch will help you organize all your accounts, track your spending, get you a better handle on all the investments that you have without having to touch a spreadsheet. They make it easy for you. With Monarch, you can review everything with your partner. You can see shared goals, make better financial decisions together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where exactly your money's going and how to make it work harder for you. It's your money. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
Back here on a Locked On MLB Game Night, every game, every night, postseason edition. We're going to be with you every night, even on the off days. I know we've got a few days between now and the World Series. We're going to have a nice little squad show coming up with all the hosts of Game Night. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we hope that you look forward to that. Now, we did hear from our friends at Locked On Blue Jays, but we've got Ty Dane Gonzalez of Locked On Mariners. He's got an extended video, I suppose you'd say, but I think it's appropriate, JD, because it was a difficult end to the Mariners season. So let's hear from Ty right now.
You know, heartbreak is just kind of part of being a Seattle sports fan, right? From having the Sonics ripped away from us in 2008 to throwing it at the 1 yard line in Super Bowl 49. And, you know, just really the entire Mariners existence. But what happened tonight, that's one of those things that's probably going to haunt me forever as a Seattle sports fan. This is Ty Dane Gonzalez, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast here. Where to begin? Mariners lose 4-3 to the Toronto Blue Jays tonight in Game 7 of the ALCS. They blow a 2-0 series lead. They blow a 3-1 lead in this game with 8 outs to go. 8 outs away from their first ever trip to the World Series, which is not going to happen this year. And who knows when it will happen. I mean, I guess the thing that I'm thinking about right now is just how in 2022, when they lost that series to the Astros, you know, you felt hopeful. You felt like, hey, we're going to be back. We're going to be back. And then the next 2 years happened and they didn't get back. And so with so many questions heading into this offseason, you know, it's hard not to shake the feeling and shake the experience of the last two seasons out of the back of my mind, even with all the positives of this year. You know, I'm very proud of this club. I'm very grateful for what this club did this year and the ride that they took us on. And I'm so grateful for our listeners for coming along this ride with us. But this is a really, really tough pill to swallow. And, you know, there are a lot of, you know, aspects of tonight to hyper focus on. Obviously, Dan Wilson's hand in all of this. And, you know, not only the Bizzardo decision over Munoz, but also trying to squeeze a third inning out of Brian Wu, which kind of set up the whole seventh inning debacle. The Bizzardo decision, while I absolutely am on the side of they should have gone to Munoz there, it's not surprising to me in the slightest because Dan Wilson has refused all year long to go to Munoz in non-obvious save situations / extra innings. But it's the top of the Jays lineup for the last time in this series. You had to go to Munoz there. You had to go to your best arm in the bullpen there. And while Edward Bizzardo has been an absolute dog all year long, and we have sung his praises all year long, and he is the unsung hero of this club, you had to go to Munoz. You had to go to Munoz in that situation. At the very least, you know, I could live with that, but I can't live with this, frankly. I can't live with how that went down. But this is also, you know, on the bats for not capitalizing on some other opportunities they had to play add-on and give more buffer to this pitching staff against this utterly relentless Blue Jays lineup. I guess the thing that stings the most about this one is that it just felt like the Mariners were dictating this game for most of it. And then in a blink of an eye, you know, a once-in-a-lifetime, or at least a first-in-a-lifetime experience disappeared. Just like that. Yeah. I don't know. This one's going to be really tough to get over. We'll talk about it on the Locked On Mariners podcast. See you then. Peace.
See, and that right there, I think, is the beauty of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's not just baseball; it's all sports, where you get the real and raw reactions of real fans of these teams. And I think Ty did a great job there of just kind of summing up what went wrong in this game, but also what it means to a Seattle sports fan. Would you agree, JD?
Oh, absolutely. That's the one great thing about our company here is that we're all, even though if some of us have worked in the sports field, like professionally, we're also just fans that are covering our team. So you're going to get raw emotion, good and bad. You saw the Toronto guys losing their minds, and then you get the other side of it, of what Ty and the boys in Seattle are going through right now as well. It's certainly a tough pill to swallow. Seattle, I just don't think they should hang their head by any means. I think it's a very good team, and I have no doubts that they'll continue to be good. We'll see what the offseason brings for them after making those trades and who they decide to keep. It's all of those things that he was talking about. We were discussing just a few moments ago, where it's like, that whole situation there, so many different avenues that Seattle could have gone down. Dan Wilson could have made a different decision, and who knows if things would have gone differently. But in a situation where this is game 7 and you're going home, if you lose this, go home with your very best going up against their very best. As good as Bizzardo has been, Munoz is your guy. You haven't been using him. 3 days rest, as you guys mentioned. Let him get in there and make them beat your best, not one of the really good pitchers that you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's difficult to not have your number one guy in the bullpen out there trying to simmer down a situation and diffuse a situation that obviously was going to be a big moment in that game, and it went wrong for them.
Yeah. And I'll take off my AL West rival Angels hat here for a minute and put on my baseball fan hat and just say it went to a game 7 for a reason. And the Mariners were very, very good. They did all the right things at the trade deadline. I think they had the best trade deadline pretty much out of any team that made moves during that period. And Ty spoke to 2022. I don't know if this means much to them at this moment in time, but they had a negative run differential that year, and they made the postseason as a wild card team. This year, they won the AL West. They came storming back. They took it away from the Astros, who looked to be inevitable again. The Astros didn't make it, and the Mariners did. And so I think that there's a lot that they can hang their hat on, and I think there's a lot that they can be proud of. And hopefully, for Ty's sake and Mariners fans, that this next couple of years doesn't look like 2023 and 2024. It feels like they did all the right stuff this season, and I think and I hope that they are able to continue to do that going into next season. Hey, we're going to talk about the ALCS MVP and get you ready for this heavyweight matchup between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. That's coming up on MLB Game Night.
Today's show is being brought to you by Gametime. Now, there's nothing like catching a baseball game live, pretty much any sporting event live, to be honest. But actually getting tickets is where it can become a hassle. It becomes tough because you deal with the queues and the login screens and those stupid surprise fees that nobody likes. Takes all the fun out of getting tickets to go see your favorite event. So use Gametime if you aren't already, the app that gives the advantage back to fans, because Gametime is fast and easy and is backed by the Gametime guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. You don't get to check out and then look and see, why is everything double the price? What happened here? What, did I add a ticket on accident? What happened? No, that's what the other sites do. Gametime is not going to give you that problem. It's faster, cheaper, less stressful than any other way I've ever bought tickets. I use Gametime and only Gametime. You should too. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today.
All right, JD, with a few minutes we have remaining on this episode of Game Night, George Springer might have been the hero in this one, but the ALCS MVP went to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. His dad did so much for my favorite team that I think that this is fantastic to see. Hey,
The
look,
Montreal Expos. I didn't know that was your favorite team.
there you go. Well, he made the postseason with the Angels, not the Expos. So there you go. Roberto Alomar in 1992 and Dave Stewart in 93 are the only other Blue Jays to win the ALCS MVP. Listen to this postseason slash line: 442, 510 on base, 930 slugging, a 1,440 OPS, 6 home runs, 12 RBI, and just 3 Ks all postseason. When they asked him after the game, when you signed here to stay in Toronto this season, is this exactly what you had in mind? And Vladdy said, yes, this is exactly what I had in mind. So question for you, JD, that 14-year, $500 million contract with a $325 million signing bonus, and they announced way back at the beginning of this season. Looking like a pretty good move now, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually was on board with that move right away because losing a talent like a Vladdy Guerrero Jr. in his prime, this may not even be the prime yet. This is like early prime is what we're talking about. I mean, he's only 26. Right. And in a situation where you have the means to keep him, he wants to be there, born in Canada, loves being in Toronto. He enjoys it thoroughly, has said that, hey, I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to be here. Would have been a really rough look to watch him walk out the door for whatever reason. So, kudos to Toronto for getting that deal done. Kudos to Vladdy for wanting to be there. They've tried to lure some guys. I know Ohtani was a guy that they talked about. I'm trying to remember if they were in on the Aaron Judge stuff. I know they tried to get Blake Snell at one point, but they've been trying to get other stars to come to Toronto, and it hasn't been easy for them. Right. And they have a guy that is a superstar in-house already. So, sign the guys that you already have. And it was great that they finally were able to get him on the dotted line. And he's a guy that's, again, 14 years, these guys playing until he's 40. That's not out of the realm of possibilities anymore. People stay in really good shape. He's obviously a first baseman, can DH. He's not over there at the hot corner anymore. It's going to be fine, And at some point, kind of like the Mike Trout, situation where as he escalates in age, the numbers are going to dip. It's just natural. Sure. But for the next 10 years at least, he's going to be, incredible. You would expect him to be. You don't see him faltering at any point. So it was a great deal for Toronto, and now they're headed to the World Series with him. So everything is kosher in Toronto right now.
Yeah, he definitely carried them this series. Does this ALCS establish him as their franchise guy, or do they need to win the World Series for him to be the guy? What do you think?
Well, other than Lucas being the guy, because clearly you got to be scared of him.
Don't pitch to Lucas, right?
Outside of it, no, he is the guy. He's been the guy, and he is going to be the next guy for these next, 14 years if everything works out the way they want it to. It's been very impressive to see what he's done here in the postseason. Because remember, at the beginning, we were like, where's Toronto's offense? And even Vladdy's ice cold. Everybody's quiet. And then he just went on a tear. And, the cream rises to the top. We say that in every sport, that your stars have to be your star players. That's just the way it's got to be in the postseason. And he elevated his game, and it was an absolute monster for the Blue Jays. And this is also, if you remember, his personal numbers this year were not great. They were not, they're good numbers for normal human beings, but for somebody who's making that contract and has, the esteem going along with that, you look at those and you're like, whoa, 23 home runs, 80 something RBIs. That's not all that sexy. There's a lot of guys that had those numbers, but the point of it is that the team was better this year. I mean, they were 20 games under 500 last year. Right. Like they were horrible. They had a terrible season, and his numbers were really, really good. And then this year they come down a little bit, but the team wins. The team wins. And not that I know him, but just body language and hearing him speak in public and stuff, he just feels like he's a guy that really could care less about his personal numbers as long as the team's winning. Exactly. They this year they get the number 1 seed. They're going to the World Series, and he seems like a very unselfish guy, very mature. At the age of 26 already, he's obviously been around the game a long time with his dad being such a huge piece of baseball history and a Hall of Famer. So he wants to win, and they were able to do this, and he was able to kind of carry the torch with his buddy Bo Bichette on the injured list this entire postseason thus far. And it was very impressive. And you feel good for guys in Toronto, and especially for somebody like that who decided to stay in Toronto. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to win, and to be able to deliver right away, that's huge.
Yeah, you'd love to see that when they sign that big deal and then he becomes the hero of this series. Now, you mentioned, the Blue Jays in on Shohei Ohtani a couple of years ago, and there was all that hoopla about him being on a plane to Toronto. Well, it turns out Shohei Ohtani will be on a plane to Toronto because Game 1 of the World Series will be this Friday, and it takes place in Toronto as the Dodgers head there because the Blue Jays have the number 1 seed there. They're going to have home field advantage. Now, Fangraphs, as of this point, has a World Series championship odds at 62.6% in favor of the Dodgers, 37.4% in favor of the Blue Jays. Now, one key factor, and you brought him up, who's been missing from this postseason is Bo Bichette. But he told John Morosi tonight that he will be ready for the World Series. And they've come this far without their everyday shortstop, who this year slashed .311, a .357 on base, .483 slugging, .840 OPS this year. And remember, you mentioned their down season last year. He had a terrible season last year, Bo Bichette did. So for him to have that turnaround was a huge contributing factor to the Blue Jays being where they are now. So here's my final question before we wrap up, JD. The Dodgers, they steamrolled the Brewers in the NLCS. And we know that the Blue Jays, the Brewers, similar in terms of, guys who put the ball in play. They don't strike out, how they handle their at-bats. And they've also got some questionable, rotation pieces. Are the Dodgers going to do what they did to the Brewers when they match up against the Blue Jays, or are the Jays a better team than Milwaukee? What do you say?
I don't think it will be a sweep. I just can't see that happening. I would also select the Dodgers to win this one. I would take them in 6 games. I think that the Blue Jays will give them a run for their money, and I think they'll play them pretty tough. It's just really hard to get past that Dodgers starting rotation. Nobody's got just ace after ace after ace. You saw Toronto leaning on Trey Savage again in this series, and you see Shane Bieber, they got to rely on him, where they're the third best pitcher in the rotation for the Dodgers might be Shohei right now. Like, it's ridiculous,
insane.
And Blake Snell's pitching is as well as he has all year right now. They're all well rested. It's going to be a difficult mountain to climb for the Toronto Blue Jays, and not to take anything away from them. I said it in May when the Cardinals played them the first time. I was like, oh my gosh, Toronto is like ridiculous to pitch against. I would love to see them be smarter than some of these other teams have been against a Blake Snell, where everybody was getting uber aggressive against these guys and not making them work much. I would love to see Toronto, be a pain in the butt and following off, 7-8 pitches and really driving in and get to that Dodgers bullpen. I think that's the best way to beat them. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me on that. But it is just very, very tough to get through that Dodgers starting rotation. But if you can take one of those first two games, you're going to be at home and then grab another one in LA. Wild things happen in Toronto, man. You saw in these last 2 games, that crowd gets energized and that team feeds off of it. And, it's going to be a fun World Series, arguably the 2 best teams in baseball all year, maybe not the best records, but the best teams going to meet in the end. That's kind of what you want.
Yeah. You're going to see if the Blue Jays can, crack the code on the Dodgers rotation, like you were mentioning. I got a hot take for you. How about this? Ernie Clement will have a 19 pitch at bat at some point in this World Series. That's what I'm going to go with. All right, friends. Thank you for being here for this episode of Locked On MLB Game Night. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget, we're having lots of conversations every single night. Even without games, we're going to be here on MLB Game Night, and we hope you'll come back and join us on MLB Game Night, where it's every game, every night.